The stars looked the same as always when Captain Veltar walked onto the bridge of his ship. The silent whisper moved through space like a ghost, its crystal hull catching starlight and bending it into rainbow patterns. Veltar's crew had been exploring unknown space for 3 years now, and they had found many wonderful things. New planets with strange animals, gas clouds that sang in the solar wind, and asteroid fields full of rare metals. But they had not found what they were really looking for. They had not found new friends. The Zephyrian people loved to meet other thinking beings. In the past 1,000 years, they had made friends with 46 different species. Each new friendship brought joy to the entire galaxy. The Council of Species grew larger and wiser with each new member. Trade routes opened, knowledge was shared, and everyone lived better lives. This was how things should be. This was how things had always been. Dr. Kexrin stood next to his scanner, watching numbers dance across the screen. He was the ship's expert on finding life. His long fingers moved over the controls like a musician playing an instrument. His crystal skin glowed soft blue when he was excited, and right now it was glowing very bright indeed. "Captain," Kexrin said, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, "I have found something amazing. There is a system ahead with a blue and green world. The scanners show it has water, air, and plant life. But there is more. Much more." Veltar moved closer to look at the screen. His own skin began to glow with interest. "What else do you see, old friend?" "Energy signatures," Kexrin replied, pointing at the data streams. "Artificial energy. Radio waves. Metal objects moving in orbit around the planet. Captain, I think we have found a new thinking species." The bridge fell quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. Finding a new thinking species was the greatest joy any explorer could experience. It meant new songs, new stories, new ways of seeing the universe. It meant the galaxy was about to become a richer place. Navigation Officer Plindar checked their position. "Captain, the system is only 2 light jumps away. We could be there in 6 hours." "Make it so," Veltar commanded, his voice filled with anticipation. "Set course for the blue world. Today we may make new friends." The silent whisper changed direction and began moving toward the unknown system. As they traveled, the crew prepared for first contact. They reviewed the standard protocols that had worked so well with other species. First, they would observe from a distance to learn about the new beings. Then they would try to communicate using mathematics and simple pictures. If the new species seemed friendly, they would demonstrate their own technology to show they came in peace. Engineer Moftel prepared the ceremonial weapons display. This was always part of first contact. By showing their advanced weapons, the Zephyrians proved they were strong enough to defend themselves, but chose peace instead. Every species understood this gesture. It was like showing your claws but keeping them sheathed. It said, "I am powerful, but I choose to be your friend." Communications specialist Yorban prepared the universal greeting messages. Mathematics was the same everywhere in the universe, so they would start with simple number sequences. Then they would move to pictures of atoms, stars, and planets. Finally, they would try to learn the new species language by showing them objects and waiting to see what sounds they made. As they got closer to the blue world, the scanners revealed more details. The new species had built many metal objects that flew around their planet. Some were clearly for communication, sending radio signals in all directions. Others seemed to be for watching space. Their sensors pointed outward toward the stars. This was very promising. A species that looked to space was usually ready to meet others. "Captain," Plindar announced, "we are approaching the edge of their system. I can see one of their artificial objects moving toward us." On the main screen, a small metal ship appeared. It was crude compared to Zephyrian technology, with sharp angles and no artistic beauty. But it moved with purpose, and that was what mattered. The new beings had seen them coming and had sent a ship to investigate. "It is smaller than I expected," Veltar observed. "But size does not matter. Intelligence is what counts." The alien ship moved closer, and now the Zephyrians could see it more clearly. It had weapons mounted on its hull, but they looked primitive and clumsy. The ship itself seemed to be held together with welds and bolts, not the elegant molecular bonds that Zephyrian ships used. Still, it flew true and steady, which showed skill and intelligence. "Begin first contact procedures," Veltar ordered. "Yorban, start with the mathematical sequence. Let us introduce ourselves properly." The communications officer began transmitting. First came the prime numbers, then the Fibonacci sequence, then simple geometric shapes. The alien ship stopped moving and seemed to be listening. After a few minutes, it began transmitting back. The same mathematical sequences, but in a different format. They were communicating. "Excellent," Veltar said, his skin glowing bright with joy. "They understand mathematics. Now show them pictures of atoms and molecules." The next phase went smoothly. The aliens seemed very intelligent, grasping concepts quickly and responding with their own versions. They showed pictures of their world, their star, and even some of their technology. Everything was going according to the standard protocol. "Captain," Moftel reported, "should I begin the ceremonial weapons display? It is time to show them we come in peace." Veltar nodded. "Yes, but be very careful. Make sure they understand this is ceremonial. We do not want them to think we mean harm." The Silent Whisper's weapons emerged from their hidden compartments. Beautiful energy cannons that could tear apart asteroids, elegant missile systems that could strike targets across vast distances, and shield generators that could protect entire planets. They were works of art as much as tools of war, their surfaces decorated with flowing patterns that caught the starlight. Moftel activated the weapons in sequence, each one powering up and displaying its capabilities. The energy readings would be impossible for the aliens to miss. Any thinking being would understand that these were advanced technologies, far beyond what their crude ship could match. This was the moment when new species usually showed their submission and asked for peaceful relations. But something went wrong. Instead of powering down their weapons and sending peaceful signals, the alien ship suddenly changed course. It began moving toward them at high speed, its primitive weapons charging with energy. "Captain," Yorban called out, his voice filled with confusion. "They are not responding correctly. They seem to think we are threatening them." "Send the peace symbols," Veltar ordered quickly. "Show them our empty hands. Make it clear we mean no harm." But it was too late. The alien ship opened fire. The first human weapon struck the Silent Whisper's shields like a hammer blow. The entire ship shook and warning lights flashed across the bridge. Captain Veltar gripped his command chair, unable to believe what was happening. In all the history of First Contact, no species had ever attacked without provocation. This went against everything they knew about intelligent life. "Shields holding at 80%, Moftel reported, his crystal skin flickering with stress patterns. "But Captain, their weapons are crude yet surprisingly effective. They are using some kind of explosive projectile system." Dr. Kexran watched his scanners in fascination and horror. The human ship was doing things that made no sense. Instead of retreating when faced with superior technology, it was moving closer. Its crew was increasing power to weapons while simultaneously plotting a collision course. "They are going to ram us," Plindar announced, his voice high with panic. "Captain, they mean to destroy their own ship to damage ours." This was beyond Veltar's understanding. Every species in the galaxy valued survival above all else. Even the most aggressive races would retreat when faced with certain death. But these humans seemed to welcome it. Through the communication channels, Veltar could hear their voices. They were not screaming in fear. They were shouting with what sounded like excitement. Commander Jake Murphy's voice crackled over the radio as he coordinated his crew's attack. "Ben, I need more power to the forward guns. Lisa, get us in close. Amy, keep trying to break their communication codes." "Sir, we're taking heavy damage," Ben Parker replied from the engine room. "I can give you more power, but I'll have to shut down life support to do it." "Do it," Jake ordered without hesitation. "We can hold our breath longer than they can hold their fire." This exchange was translated by Yorban and broadcast to the Zephyrian crew. The aliens listened in growing horror as they realized the humans were willingly cutting off their own air supply to gain a slight tactical advantage. No sane being would make such a choice. Lisa Carter's laughter echoed through the communication channels as she threw the human ship into an impossible spiral. The maneuver used the gravity of a nearby moon to accelerate beyond what any crew should be able to survive. The G-forces should have knocked the humans unconscious, but somehow they remained active and alert. "This is incredible," Lisa shouted over the roar of straining metal. "I've never tried anything like this before. The ship's holding together somehow." Amy Walsh had managed to break into the Zephyrian communication system during the battle, but instead of using this access to negotiate peace, she began broadcasting psychological warfare messages. Her voice, cold and calculated, filled the alien ship's speakers. "We know you can understand us now," Amy said. "You picked the wrong species to threaten. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and each other. We've spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of warfare. Your fancy technology won't save you. Dr. Kexrin's instruments showed him something that defied all logic. The human crew's heart rates were not elevated from fear, but from something his species had no word for. The closest translation would be battle joy. These beings were actually enjoying the fight. The human ship continued its impossible attack run. Jake Murphy had armed every weapon system they possessed, even experimental ones that had never been tested in combat. The ship was literally falling apart around them, but the crew kept fighting with savage efficiency. "Sir, the hull is breaching in 3 sections," Ben reported. "I can seal 2 of them, but we'll lose the cargo bay." "Forget the cargo bay," Jake replied. "Route all power to weapons. If we're going down, we're taking them with us." Moftel watched in disbelief as the human ship shed pieces of itself while continuing to fire. Chunks of metal and sparking electronics flew away from the hull, but the weapons never stopped. The humans were literally destroying their own ship to maintain their attack. "Captain," Moftel called out, "their ship should not be able to function. They have lost structural integrity in multiple areas. Their life support is offline. Their main engines are showing critical damage readings, but they keep fighting." The Silent Whisper's shields flickered and failed under the constant barrage. The humans had somehow managed to find the exact frequency needed to disrupt Zephyrian defensive systems. This should have taken years of study, but they had done it in the middle of a battle while their ship was breaking apart. "How are they adapting so quickly?" Veltar demanded. Yorbin's voice shook as he replied, "Captain, I have been monitoring their internal communications. They are not just fighting us. They are studying us. Even while facing death, they are analyzing our tactics and technology." This revelation sent chills through the Zephyrian crew. The humans were treating this life or death struggle as a learning experience. They were taking notes while their ship died around them. Amy Walsh's voice came over the speakers again, but now she was speaking in broken Zephyrian. She had learned enough of their language during the battle to begin addressing them directly. "We fight because we must," she said in halting alien words. "Our world taught us that everything wants to kill us. So we learned to kill everything first. You showed us weapons. We thought you meant to use them." The irony was not lost on Dr. Kexerin. The humans had misunderstood the ceremonial weapons display completely. What the Zephyrians meant as a peaceful gesture, the humans interpreted as a threat. But now it was too late to explain. The human ship finally began its death dive toward the Silent Whisper. Jake Murphy's crew had pushed their vessel beyond all reasonable limits, and now it was paying the price. But even as their ship died, they remained focused on their mission. "Lisa, aim for their engine section," Jake ordered. "Ben, overload everything we have left." "Amy, transmit our sensor data back to Earth." "Data transmitted," Amy confirmed. "They'll know what we learned here." This final act horrified the Zephyrians more than anything else. Even in death, the humans were ensuring their species would benefit from this encounter. They were not just dying, they were dying productively. The collision never came. At the last possible moment, Captain Veltar ordered his ship to retreat. The Silent Whisper's engines engaged, pulling them away from the suicidal human attack. As they fled, the Zephyrian crew watched the human ship finally break apart, its crew presumably lost in the cold vacuum of space. But the humans had accomplished something unprecedented. They had forced an advanced alien civilization to flee from a single primitive ship. They had turned certain death into strategic victory through sheer unreasonable aggression. "Captain," Plindar reported, "we are clear of their weapons range. Should we return to help survivors?" Veltar's crystal skin had gone completely clear, a sign of deep shock. "No," he whispered. "We monitor from long range. If any of them survived, we do not approach." Dr. Kexerin continued scanning the wreckage, his scientific mind trying to process what he had witnessed. These humans had fought like the universe itself was trying to destroy them, and they refused to accept defeat. They had no concept of reasonable surrender. "Captain," Kexerin said quietly, "I must document everything we have seen. The Council needs to know about these beings." "Yes," Veltar agreed, his voice hollow. "They need to know that we have found something that should not exist. We have found a species that treats death as an acceptable outcome." The Great Hall of Harmony Prime had never seen such a gathering. Representatives from all 46 member species of the Galactic Council sat in perfect circles, their various forms creating a rainbow of intelligent life. Some floated in gas-filled spheres, others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure energy contained in crystal matrices. But today all eyes were focused on one being. Dr. Kexerin stood at the center of the hall, his crystal skin still showing stress fractures from his encounter 6 months ago. The Zephyrian scientist had requested this emergency session, claiming he had information that threatened the safety of all galactic civilization. Such claims were rarely made and never made lightly. Council Speaker Morden, an ancient being whose species had founded the Council 3,000 years ago, gestured for silence. His voice carried the weight of millennia when he spoke. Dr. Kexerin of the Zephyrian Collective has requested to address us on a matter of extreme importance. The floor is yours, Doctor. Kexerin activated his data projector, and holographic images filled the space above the assembled delegates. The first image showed a small blue planet, beautiful and serene. Murmurs of appreciation arose from the crowd. It looked like so many other worlds where they had made peaceful contact. Honored representatives, Kexerin began, his voice carrying clearly in the vast chamber. 6 months ago, my research vessel encountered a new species in the system you see before you. What happened next challenges everything we believe about intelligent life. The next series of images showed the human ship, crude and angular. It looked like a weapon with engines attached. Several delegates made sounds of disapproval at its harsh design. Beauty and function were supposed to go together in all civilized technology. The beings who built this vessel call themselves humans. Kexerin continued. At first, everything proceeded normally. They responded to mathematical communication. They seemed intelligent and curious. We began the ceremonial weapons display as is traditional for first contact. The hall fell silent. Every species knew this ritual. It was how civilized beings showed their strength while choosing peace. The images changed to show the Silent Whisper's elegant weapons powering up in their ceremonial sequence. This is when everything went wrong, Kexerin said, his voice dropping to a whisper. The humans interpreted our peaceful gesture as an act of war. They attacked immediately. The next images showed the battle, and gasps arose from throughout the hall. The human ship, tiny compared to the Zephyrian vessel, was charging directly toward them. Its weapons were firing continuously, and pieces of its hull were breaking away from the stress. Representative Kulnara of the Gentle Tide species raised a tentacle in question. Dr. Kexerin, surely this was a misunderstanding. Once they realized their error, they must have stopped fighting. No, Kexerin replied, his skin flickering with remembered trauma. They did not stop. They could not stop. Let me show you what humans are. The images changed to show data about human evolution. Unlike every other known intelligent species, humans had evolved from persistence predators. They were creatures that hunted by running their prey to exhaustion across vast distances. Their entire physiology was designed for endurance and pursuit. Most intelligent life develops from prey species, Kexerin explained. You hide from danger. You cooperate to survive. You flee when threatened. This teaches wisdom and caution. Humans evolved from hunters. They learned to pursue, to persist, to never give up. The hall buzzed with uncomfortable discussion. This was indeed unusual, but surely intelligence would overcome primitive instincts. There is more, Kexerin continued, displaying new data. I managed to access their historical records during the battle. Humans have spent thousands of years fighting wars against their own species, not for resources or territory, but for ideas. They will die rather than change their beliefs. Images of human warfare filled the hall. Primitive humans with spears facing creatures much larger than themselves. Later humans building weapons capable of destroying their entire world. Wars fought across continents for decades. Cities reduced to rubble while defenders refused to surrender. Representative Zixthor of the militant hegemony, the most warlike species in known space, leaned forward with interest. Dr. Kexerin, every species has tribal conflicts. What makes humans different? The scale, Kexerin replied grimly, and the methods. In one conflict, they built weapons that could kill millions at once. Then they pointed these weapons at themselves for decades, threatening mutual destruction. This did not terrify them into peace. It became their normal state. New images showed human cities during what they called the Cold War. Massive populations living under the constant threat of annihilation, yet continuing their daily lives as if nothing was wrong. Children playing in parks while weapons capable of ending civilization pointed at them from across the world. They made extinction a political strategy, Kexerin continued. They threatened to destroy everything rather than submit to enemies. And this worked. Their opponents believed they were serious because they were serious. The hall had fallen completely silent. No known species had ever weaponized suicide on such a scale. During our battle, Kexrin went on, I monitored their crew communications. When their life support failed, they celebrated. When their ship began breaking apart, they laughed. When they realized they would die, they made sure their deaths would be useful to their species. The final images showed the human ship's death dive toward the silent whisper. Even as it broke apart, its weapons continued firing. Even as the crew faced certain death, they transmitted tactical data back to their homeworld. They do not surrender, Kexrin said simply. Surrender is not a concept they understand. They would rather die fighting than live peacefully under someone else's rule. Representative Chen Wei of the Harmonious Republic, one of the most peaceful species ever discovered, spoke in a trembling voice. But surely, Dr. Kexrin, they can be reasoned with. All intelligent life seeks to preserve itself. That is what we believed, Kexrin replied. But humans are different. They value victory over survival. They value freedom over safety. They would rather fight a hopeless battle than accept defeat. He displayed the final piece of evidence, audio recordings from the human ship's last moments. Jake Murphy's voice rang through the hall as he coordinated his crew's final attack, Lisa Carter laughing as she performed impossible maneuvers. Amy Walsh calmly transmitting data while her ship died around her. Listen to them, Kexrin urged. They are not afraid. They are not desperate. They are focused and determined. They are treating their own deaths as just another tactical problem to solve. The recordings ended, and the hall remained silent for long minutes. Finally, Council Speaker Mordoun found his voice. Dr. Kexrin, what is your recommendation? The Zephyrian scientist straightened, his decision already made. Complete quarantine. No contact of any kind. If humans ever develop faster than light travel, they could threaten every peaceful civilization in the galaxy. They do not think like us. They do not value what we value. They cannot be negotiated with because they do not fear consequences. But surely, Representative Kulnara protested, if we explained our peaceful intentions, they would see it as weakness, Kexrin interrupted. They respect only strength, and they define strength as the willingness to die for your cause. Every diplomatic overture would be seen as an opportunity to attack. Admiral Zixthor stood slowly, his massive form casting shadows across the hall. As the representative of the galaxy's most militaristic species, his words carried weight. In 3,000 years of conquest, he said in a voice like grinding stone, my people have never encountered a species that frightened us. We have always been the predators among civilized folk. But these humans, he paused, choosing his words carefully. These humans do not fight like civilized beings. They fight like the universe itself is trying to kill them, and they refuse to die. The admission sent shockwaves through the hall. If the militant hegemony feared humans, what hope did peaceful species have? Council Speaker Morden called for order as discussions broke out across the chamber. When quiet returned, he spoke with the authority of ages. This matter requires careful consideration. We will recess while each delegation considers the evidence. But I fear, honored colleagues, that we face something unprecedented in galactic history. We may have discovered a species that cannot coexist with civilized life. As the delegates filed out of the Great Hall, each lost in their own thoughts, none of them noticed the small monitoring probe that had been listening from just outside their solar system. The probe had been placed there by human deep space reconnaissance, still trying to establish contact with the aliens who had attacked them 6 months ago. The probe dutifully recorded everything and prepared to transmit the data back to Earth, where human strategists would soon learn that they had become the most feared species in known space. The United Earth Congress had never seen such celebration. Commander Jake Murphy stood at the podium, his chest covered with medals from every nation on Earth. Beside him, his crew wore their dress uniforms with pride. Lisa Carter, Ben Parker, and Amy Walsh had become household names across the planet. They were the first humans to fight aliens and win. President Maria Santos stepped to the microphone, her voice carrying to billions of viewers around the world. Today we honor the crew of the New Horizon, who proved that humanity can defend itself against any threat from the stars. Their courage and skill saved our world from alien aggression. The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake Murphy smiled and waved, remembering the battle that had made him famous. In the human version of events, they had been peaceful explorers who were suddenly attacked by hostile aliens. They had fought bravely against superior technology and forced the invaders to retreat. Ladies and gentlemen, President Santos continued, I present Commander Jake Murphy, the first human to defeat an alien warship in combat. Jake stepped forward to address the crowd. His voice was strong and confident, carrying the pride of a species that had proven it could stand against the unknown. 6 months ago, we reached out to the stars hoping to make friends, Jake began. Instead, we found enemies who thought they could intimidate us with superior technology. They were wrong. We showed them that humans do not back down from a fight. The audience loved it. Earth's media had turned the battle into a story of heroic resistance against alien oppression. Movies were being made about the brave crew who saved humanity from conquest. Books were written about human ingenuity triumphing over advanced technology. Lisa Carter had become a symbol of human innovation. Her impossible flight maneuvers were now taught in every pilot training program on Earth. She stood at the podium, her flight suit pressed and perfect, nothing like the torn and damaged uniform she had worn during the actual battle. We proved that human creativity can overcome any technological advantage, Lisa told the crowd. When they thought we were beaten, we found new ways to fight. When they thought they understood us, we surprised them. That is what makes us human. Ben Parker spoke next, his engineer's mind focused on practical matters. We took their advanced weapons and turned them against our own ship to give us more power. We sacrificed our life support to keep our guns working. We showed them that humans will do whatever it takes to win. The crowd cheered even louder. Amy Walsh stepped forward last, her role as communications officer having evolved into something much more important during the battle. I learned their language while we were fighting them, Amy explained. I got inside their communication systems and used their own words against them. We proved that humans can adapt faster than any enemy can plan. What Amy did not mention was the psychological warfare she had conducted. The terrifying messages she had broadcast to demoralize the alien crew were classified as military secrets. Earth's leaders wanted to keep some tactics hidden for future conflicts. After the ceremony, Jake and his crew were taken to a secure briefing room deep inside the Pentagon. General Sam Mitchell waited for them there, along with Dr. Helen Ross, Earth's leading expert on alien technology. Congratulations on your public relations success, General Mitchell said with a slight smile. But now we need to discuss the real situation. Dr. Ross has been analyzing the alien technology we recovered from your battle. Dr. Ross activated a holographic display showing pieces of Zephyrian equipment. The elegant weapons and defensive systems looked like works of art compared to human military hardware. What we found is both encouraging and disturbing, Dr. Ross began. The aliens possess technology centuries ahead of our own. Their weapons could destroy entire cities. Their ships can travel between stars in hours instead of years. Their defensive systems can protect entire planets, Jake frowned. Then how did we win? Because they were not trying to kill you, Dr. Ross replied. Their weapons were not designed for warfare as we understand it. They appear to be ceremonial devices, meant for displaying technological superiority rather than causing actual harm. This revelation sent chills through the room. If the aliens had been trying to kill them, the New Horizon would have been destroyed in seconds. Are you saying we started a war with a peaceful species? Amy asked quietly. Possibly, Dr. Ross confirmed, but it does not matter now. What matters is that they know we exist and they have seen how we fight. If they are peaceful, they will avoid us. If they are hostile, they will prepare for us. General Mitchell stepped forward, his expression grim. Which brings us to our real problem. We have to assume that there are hostile aliens out there somewhere. The species you fought might have been peaceful, but others might not be. We need to be ready. The general activated another display showing human military installations around the solar system. New space stations were under construction, armed with weapons based on captured alien technology. Defense platforms orbited every major planet and moon. Project Guardian is our response to the alien threat, General Mitchell explained. We are building the most powerful military force in human history. When the aliens return, we will be ready for them. Jake studied the images, seeing massive battle stations and fleets of warships unlike anything humans had ever built before. How long before this is complete? 5 years for the basic systems, General Mitchell replied. 10 years for full implementation. We are converting every available resource to defense production. Every nation on Earth is contributing. Dr. Ross pulled up new schematics showing human ships designed with alien technology. They looked deadly and efficient, built for one purpose only: warfare. We have learned much from the alien devices, she explained. Their power systems, their materials, their weapon designs. We cannot match their technology exactly, but we can adapt it to suit human tactics. What do you mean by human tactics? Lisa asked. General Mitchell smiled grimly. Everything you did during the battle. Ramming attacks. Sacrificing ship systems for tactical advantage. Using psychological warfare. Fighting to the death rather than surrendering. The aliens clearly did not expect such methods. Amy realized what they were planning. You want to turn our natural aggression into a military doctrine. Exactly, the general confirmed. Every other species we might encounter probably evolved like the ones you fought. They value survival over victory. They retreat when faced with superior force. They surrender when defeat seems certain. We do not. Jake felt a mixture of pride and unease. So we are turning humanity's violent history into our greatest strength. Yes, General Mitchell replied. For millions of years, humans survived by being more stubborn, more aggressive, and more adaptable than anything that tried to kill us. Ice ages, predators, diseases, other humans, we survived it all by refusing to give up. Dr. Ross added more technical details. We are also developing new types of weapons based on human psychology. Systems that become more effective as our situation becomes more desperate. Ships that function better when damaged. Weapons that activate automatically if the crew is killed. The implications were staggering. Humanity was preparing for interstellar warfare by weaponizing its own survival instincts. There is one more thing, General Mitchell said quietly. We intercepted alien communications during your battle. They were not just fighting you. They were studying you, learning from you. We have to assume they will share that information with other species. Jake understood immediately. You think they will warn other aliens about us? I think they will tell everyone in the galaxy to stay away from Earth, the general replied. Which means if we ever want to expand beyond our solar system, we will have to fight for every star system we claim. The room fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. They had won a single battle, but in doing so they had marked humanity as a threat to galactic civilization. So what happens now? Ben asked. General Mitchell straightened his uniform and looked each of them in the eye. Now we prepare for war, real war, against enemies we have never seen, using weapons we are still learning to build, and we do it knowing that the entire galaxy might be united against us. Outside the Pentagon, Earth continued its celebrations. Parades honored the heroes who had saved humanity from alien conquest. Children played with toys based on the new horizon. Movies portrayed humans as the brave underdogs who had triumphed through courage and determination. But in secure facilities around the world, humanity was preparing for a very different kind of future. A future where human aggression and adaptability would be tested against the combined forces of galactic civilization. A future where the survival instincts that had carried humanity from caves to stars would determine whether the species lived or died among the cosmic community. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted for 3 days. Never before in the history of civilized space had every member species agreed on a single issue so quickly. The vote was unanimous: 46 species, 46 votes for complete quarantine of the human system. Council Speaker Morden signed the official decree with ceremonies that were broadcast across the galaxy. By order of the Galactic Council, the Sol system is hereby declared a quarantine zone. No vessel of any member species shall approach within 50 light years of the human homeworld. Any signs of human expansion beyond their system will be reported immediately to Council forces. Representative Chen Wei of the Harmonious Republic, despite her species' 10,000-year tradition of pacifism, voted for military preparation. We must protect our worlds from this threat, she announced to her shocked constituents. The humans have shown us that not all intelligent life values peace over conquest. The Etherian Collective, beings of pure energy who had transcended physical form millennia ago, began developing new defensive technologies for the first time in their existence. Their research focused on systems specifically designed to counter human tactics, unpredictable ramming attacks, ships that fought more effectively when damaged, and psychological warfare designed to break enemy morale. But the most shocking development came from Admiral Zixthor of the militant hegemony. His species had conquered 17 star systems through superior military force, and they had never shown fear of any opponent. Yet now he stood before the council and made a statement that changed everything. For 3,000 years, my people have been the wolves among sheep, Admiral Zixthor declared, his massive form casting shadows across the council chamber. We took what we wanted through strength of arms. Other species feared us because we were willing to destroy rather than retreat. But these humans, they are something else entirely. He activated a holographic display showing tactical analysis of the human battle. Watch how they fight. They do not retreat when outgunned. They do not surrender when defeat is certain. They become more dangerous as their situation becomes more hopeless. This is not the behavior of civilized warriors. This is the behavior of cornered animals who refuse to die. The Admiral's analysis was chilling in its detail. He showed how human crew members had continued fighting even when their ship was breaking apart around them. How they had sacrificed life support to maintain weapons power. How they had used their own deaths as tactical weapons. My species understands controlled aggression, Admiral Zixthor continued. We fight for territory, for resources, for dominance, but humans fight for ideas. They fight for concepts that exist only in their minds. They will die rather than compromise their beliefs, and they cannot be bought, threatened, or reasoned with. The Admiral's final recommendation sent shockwaves through the assembled delegates. I propose we do not simply quarantine the humans. I propose we prepare for war against them. Not because they threaten us now, but because they will inevitably expand beyond their system, and when they do, they will bring their violent madness with them. Other species quickly began their own military preparations. The Gentle Tide, a species so peaceful they had never developed weapons beyond simple tools, began converting their industrial infrastructure to produce defensive systems. Their research focused on early warning networks that could detect human ships from vast distances. The Crystal Singers, beings who communicated through harmonic resonance, developed new forms of psychological defense. They created sonic barriers designed to disrupt human brain patterns and render their crews unconscious before they could ram allied ships. Even the Keepers of Memory, an ancient race devoted to preserving knowledge, began building hidden archives in distant systems. They feared that human expansion would lead to the destruction of galactic civilization and wanted to preserve some record for whatever species might survive the coming darkness. Dr. Kexerin found himself at the center of this galactic mobilization. Every species wanted to study his data about human psychology and tactics. Military commanders across the galaxy analyzed every second of his encounter, trying to understand how such a primitive species could defeat advanced technology through pure determination. The key is their evolution, Dr. Kexerin explained to a gathering of military strategists. They evolved as persistence predators on a death world. Their planet tried to kill them with ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and countless other disasters. Any sane species would have developed advanced technology quickly to escape such conditions. Humans instead developed the ability to adapt to any threat. He showed them images of human evolution, from primitive hunters tracking prey across vast distances to modern soldiers fighting in every environment their world could produce. They do not overcome obstacles by avoiding them. They overcome obstacles by becoming more stubborn than the obstacle itself. The strategists studied human historical records with growing alarm, wars that lasted for decades, sieges where defenders ate rats rather than surrender, battles where humans charged into certain death because retreat was not an option, weapons designed not just to kill enemies, but to kill enemies so thoroughly that other humans would be too terrified to continue fighting. But surely, one strategist suggested, we can negotiate with their leaders. Every species has individuals who value survival over ideology. Dr. Kexerin's crystal skin flickered with sad amusement. You do not understand. Human leaders are chosen because they represent human values. Their most respected leaders are often the ones most willing to choose death over surrender. They call this heroism and they teach it to their children. Meanwhile, monitoring stations throughout the galaxy detected disturbing signs from the Sol system. Human energy signatures were increasing exponentially. Massive construction projects were underway on every planet and moon in their system. Most ominously, they were building ships unlike anything in their previous designs, warships, based on captured alien technology. Intelligence reports painted a terrifying picture of human preparations. They were converting their entire civilization to military production. Every available resource was being channeled into weapons, ships, and defensive systems. Unlike other species who maintained balanced economies even during wartime, humans seemed willing to sacrifice everything for military advantage. "They are not preparing for defense," reported Admiral Vexnall of the Surveillance Corps. "They are preparing for expansion. Every ship design we have detected is built for offense, not protection. They intend to leave their system, and they intend to fight anyone who tries to stop them." The most disturbing intelligence came from long-range sensors monitoring human communication networks. The humans were not just building weapons, they were improving them. Human scientists were studying captured Zephyrian technology and finding ways to make it more effective for their style of warfare. "They have weaponized our own peaceful intentions," Dr. Kexrin reported with horror.
They are taking devices designed to demonstrate technological superiority and converting them into instruments of destruction.
"What we created for ceremony, they perfected for killing." As months passed, the quarantine zone around Earth became the most heavily monitored region of space. Every major species maintained observation posts at the 50-light-year boundary, watching for any sign of human expansion. Early warning networks stretched across multiple star systems, ready to alert galactic civilization if humans achieved faster-than-light travel. But perhaps the most significant change was psychological. For the first time in recorded galactic history, peaceful species were voluntarily militarizing. The mere knowledge that humans existed had fundamentally altered how every civilization viewed the universe. Children on peaceful worlds learned about defensive strategies in school. Trade routes were rerouted to avoid the human quarantine zone. Scientific expeditions were canceled if they ventured too close to Sol system. The galaxy had become a more fearful place simply because humans were part of it. The final irony came when deep space monitors detected a small probe at the edge of the quarantine zone. Human technology, crude but functional, broadcasting universal mathematical sequences in an attempt to re-establish communication with the aliens, who had attacked them months before. Their probe's message was simple and straightforward. It asked for peaceful dialogue and offered to share human, scientific knowledge in exchange for diplomatic relations. To human minds, it was a reasonable request from a species that had defended itself against unprovoked alien aggression. To the Galactic Council, it was proof that humans were already probing beyond their system boundaries, testing the quarantine and preparing for expansion. The probe was destroyed immediately by automated defense systems, but its existence confirmed everyone's worst fears. Humans were not content to stay in their own system. They would eventually venture into galactic civilization. And when they did, they would bring their violent, unreasonable, utterly human approach to problem-solving with them. The galaxy prepared for war against a species that did not even know it was considered a threat. 46 civilizations united against Earth, while humans continued their preparations to defend themselves against what they believed were hostile alien invaders.